Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Salewa showroom. We are in Bolzano in the Salewa headquarters. And tonight we're going to have a conversation between Christine and myself. And we're going to talk about hemp and about why it is a special collection we're presenting to you and what is behind this project of Alpine hemp in Salewa. Because it's not just a new material we're talking about. And let me first introduce myself. My name is Éline Le Menestrel. I'm a 23-year-old climber and I'm also a student. I live in Marseille currently. And I started climbing when I was very young with my family, and so I got to spend a lot of time outdoors very soon. And growing up, I came to like climbing more and more. And then I decided to organize my life around it. And 2 years ago, I started working with Salewa here. And I think as climbers, we get so much from the mountains. And it's a place where we get to be ourselves, we get to express who we are and who we want to be, and therefore it is very important to give back to the mountains one way or the other. And what I do is I try to connect what I learn in my studies with what I do in climbing. So I study a special degree that is called Science and Humanities, where we try to make different disciplines dialogue, and like this, we try to have a broad approach and to think out of the box to face today's problems. And we talk a lot about the environmental crisis, about how our society works and doesn't work. And so I think in climbing, we have this responsibility to take care of the places we love, and so we start with the mountains, but we can extend this vision to nature in general. No? And when I got to know about the hemp project here in Salewa, I met Christine and I realized the potential of it. I was very happy because I saw it was really a platform where I could maybe try to connect both. And I'm very excited to have Christine here tonight with me because she's a bit my hero of hemp and she knows so much about it. So maybe you can introduce yourself, Christine.
Yes, hello also from my side. Good evening. I'm Christine Ladstätter. I'm also very happy to have this conversation with Eileen, who is a very enthusiastic and engaged climber, and I'm happy to share this project with her. I'm working with Salewa since a very long time, and I'm South Tyrolean. I'm grown up here in the mountains, so I have a very close relationship to nature and to the surrounding and these beautiful mountains we have. And I am also a very lucky person because I had the opportunity to work in Salewa on materials and products over all these years and to learn a lot, and especially in the last years where sustainability has become really a question of heart for me to work on these local materials, and one of these is or this local approach, let's say. One of these is Alpine Hemp, which we are going to share with you tonight.
So please feel free to ask questions anytime. You can write them in the chat, and after the conversation we will take 15 minutes to try to answer them. And yes, now we're going to go through some topics about hemp to try to give you an overview of the beauty we see in this plant and in this project. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the context. We all know that we're facing crucial problems, and that the time humanity is in now is very special, because we're in this tipping point where we are facing problems that we have never faced concerning the intensity of environmental crisis in all its aspects, because it's very diverse. But we still have the opportunity to not let the worst scenarios happen. So the next decade is really crucial for this, and this is why sustainability is such an important topic today, and also especially for business and for the outdoor industry, because as outdoor lovers we have this special connection to nature we were talking about, and so we can really seize this connection to try to do our part, and not even try, like we have to do it, because it's very urgent right now.
Yes, that's correct. It's urgent, and we see it. We see the temperatures changing. We see storms happening, and as Eileen said, we have a responsibility to take, especially when we talk about mountains and mountaineers. Mountaineers are persons which are very close to the mountains. They are moving outside, and so they have a real connection to it, and they have also the chance to experience it. And this is a good thing, because they understand and feel the necessity of this balance, which at the moment is very fragile. And we as industry, as outdoor industry, are part of the textile industry, which is among the of the most polluting industries. So we in Salewa know that sustainability and taking care is part of our job, and we need to work on solutions to protect the environment, to protect the waters, to look at microplastic, which we are creating. We have problems with waste management, so there's really a lot to do, and we are actively searching for solutions to bring products, or to offer products to these mountain enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because in a way we've come to this point where doing what we love, which means going to the mountains, is sometimes bad for the planet. If we think of how we go there in terms of transport, or what do we need to go there in terms of products and production and consumption, well, there's a lot to think about, no? Because we go there, we love them, but then going there we harm.
And maybe we are too many in the same time there. So this is really something which need to be looked at 360 degrees, because at one hand it's important that people understand how important biodiversity and intact territories and environment is. At the other hand, we need also to dose our presence there, and we need to be careful how we go there and what we bring into it.
And yeah, this is really a general mood that is applied to sustainability. You know, it's this kind of openness to look at things in a broad aspect, and also this humility where you face yourself, you face the problems that you bring, and you try to mitigate them and change what needs to be changed. So, hemp.
Yeah, hemp. So this is why hemp came up, actually. When we have started a project years ago, which worked with the local resources, which is Tyrol wool, And here we learned and experienced that it's very important to understand again where the materials come from and which impact they have, and to understand the connection between how it grows and how it's transformed.
Because a few centuries ago there was hemp growing in the Alps, right?
Yes, hemp is a very antique crop, and hemp was grown all over the world. It's amazingly, it can grow in all climate zones, so also in alpine regions, at different altitude. It cannot grow at the same way, because it depends also which kind of soil you have, but it basically grows everywhere. And hemp is especially connected to the Alps because alpine valleys have been or have experienced for a long time a kind of autarky. They have been autonomous, so they had to supply the things they needed for their daily life and for their work or for their survival themselves. And so they grew the things they needed, and one of those was hemp. Hemp supplied this very strong fiber for ropes. Mm-hmm. Ropes were essential for working tools, and ropes were also essential to experience and explore the mountains. That's why it's so strongly connected also to this feel of adventure which mountaineers have. And by the way, hemp was also part of other big revolutions all over the world. Sailing was, and exploring the world was only possible because ropes were available with this strength.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually my grandfather was climbing in the Dolomites 60 years ago, and he was using hemp ropes. Yeah. So yeah, it's really, really central.
So experience, yeah.
Mm. And so why did we decide to use hemp? No, well, the first thing to say is that it's a very interesting alternative to cotton and also to petrol-based materials, because this is a big issue we're facing today, is that the materials we need to produce the items we need for sports are usually made out of petrol or other synthetic fibers. And hemp is an alternative to this, and therefore it can be a solution, or at least part of the solution of the problems we talked about in the beginning, no? Which are biodiversity loss and climate change and everything. And so there's a few benefits we want to share with you concerning the planet. So what benefits can hemp bring to the planet? Maybe, Christine, you can talk about.
Yeah, this is a very interesting point, and it's also the why this crop is so interesting. We discovered this by researching and working on the application of the fiber. We wanted basically to find an alternative, not a total substitution, because this is not possible at this moment, but we wanted to find an alternative to synthetic fiber, which are, let's say, the main part of sports collection, due to the need of reducing microplastic, due to the need to have renewable resources. And so we studied the quality of the fiber and the possibility to work this kind of fiber into our fabric. This is a very special fiber, and it was really a learning process, because this is a fiber which we didn't know at that time, and still a lot of persons have not tried to wear a hemp apparel, so they don't know how it feels. And by working on this project, we discovered also this potential of the crop.
Mm-hmm. And one that I really love is how hemp can regenerate soils, because this is one of the biggest problems we have in environmental crisis, is that our soils are getting dry, they're getting poor because of how agriculture is applied today. And so hemp can actually, it has its very deep roots that are going to work in a way that can bring back carbon in the in the soil,
the
right?
soil, right? Yeah.
And so this is crucial, and it's really one of the biggest benefits of the plant if we look at the planet overview. And also
maybe the growing power. The interesting of this plant is really this power to grow very fast and to create a big this biomass, and at the same time having this rooting, which allows the crop to get the water out of the terrain and to make it softer and more vital. And this brings it then to the capture, to this high capture of CO2, connected to the biomass, which is then growing. So we have a plant which grows in 100 days up to 4 meters, according to where it's planted. And so it's a real alternative for the agriculture we have at the moment, in terms of it's a helper, because it's an excellent rotation crop, so it can help the farmers to regenerate their soil after other kind of crops. And
then there's the biodiversity aspect, which is very cool, because hemp is super resilient and it grows fast, but it also doesn't need any pesticides or any fertilizer, nor GMOs or anything like this. So we study
a bit of fertilizer. Sometimes it's needed. It depends on how much you want that it grows, but a bit is needed. But in comparison to other industrialized crops, it's very little. So the balance is very positive, and it needs also very little water. This is important because water is one of the most precious resources we have, and we need to take care of. And it creates a fiber. So we are back to the textile. It part of the biomass contains a fiber, which again can grow in all climate zones. So it's a real alternative to cotton, and also in part, not in all senses, an alternative to synthetics, which are made out of petrol, which needs millions of years to be created.
So in terms of benefits for the planet, we have that it grows very fast and it can become then a biomass and have a positive impact. For this, we have that it's great for biodiversity because you don't need pesticides and very little fertilizers, so biodiversity can flourish around it. And we have also that it regenerates the soils, which we love because we need it to grow our own food, and everything starts in the soil, kind of.
Yeah, because it's like
it's Mother Earth.
Giving Mother Earth, and food is important because population, humankind is really huge. So this is something which needs to be also considered. So by this learning process, we understood, first of all, that we were not able at the time to build a Salewa fabric, mountaineer fabric, with European hemp, because hemp cultivation has been stopped and forbidden over decades, and we have lost a lot of knowledge to work with it, and times have also changed, so people is working in a different way. We don't have that many working hands in the countryside, so we need machinery which can process hemp, and on this part work needs to be done, but it needs also to be known as material, as a plant again, and that's we learned in the project that here we need to connect with other persons and projects which work on hemp, and we understood also how
global or
how interesting or how rich or the content of the crop is. You can really create a lot of product out of it, and considering how fast it grows, it puts on the table a potential for the futures, considering that we lack of resources.
And this is something I love about Christine, is that she has this attitude towards the plant where she's gonna have this humble position and watch it grow and discover step by step what she can do with it. And she's always like looking for other ways to use hemp, for other connections to create. And so then I met her and I saw this 360 degrees approach of hemp, which is behind the products you're gonna see in the shops, no? And that means it's also, in a way, it's redefining our relationship to nature, because you work in a different way, you learn from nature in a different way, and then you create a product that has a lot of meaning and that is also part of the solution. So it's a special approach that you just described, and I think it's a small miracle, and it's very important to share this, because there's a lot of power and beauty behind it.
Yeah, there's a big potential. I must also say that I met a lot of persons which already work with hemp, and they have explained me so much about it. So this is let's say the luck I had to work on the project, and I have learned that you can build houses, you can work with. Maybe I show you, as we said, I have only the little stems here, so we have cut them. Hemp is a wooden, it's a bast fiber. It's made, the stem itself, it's like a little wood. So it contains up to 70% of wooden parts, which can be worked into construction materials. Here I show you a hemp brick from Schönthaler. This is also done in South Tyrol.
It's pretty heavy. I mean,
no, it's in comparison to cement. It's lighter.
Sure, but if you compare it to the textile,
yeah,
it's way more heavy, because it's the wooden part of the plant.
It's the sheaves which are break down from the stem and then mixed with limestone. And what you gather is a very breathable and isolating material. So you have the shelter, the house are our shelter, so it's the next step after the closing. And it works in a very similar way than the fiber works. And as we all know, and maybe Aline, you also, if you climb in the mountains, breathability and comfort next to the skin is super important. And this is something which we experienced also, but we had to learn it, because even us, we didn't really know how hemp fiber performs next to the skin. It's a natural fiber. It's naturally strong when it's growing on the plant, because it's very long. It's in a certain case holding the stem of the crop of the stem. But when you transform it into a yarn, it loses a little bit of the strength, because you have to cut it and to spin. That's why the historical wet spinning is useful for this kind of fiber, because it reactivates in a certain sense the glue, the vegetal, the pectin glues, which holds together the different fibers. But
you can really see her approach, no? Where she starts working with this plant, and suddenly she has this intuition that maybe it has a huge potential. She develops it, and then she sees the breathability of the plant, and you really feel it then when you have the textile. No? And this was crucial to feel it.
You need to feel it, yeah. Otherwise you can just explain it. We have also lab tested it. This is to see also the difference between other materials. We have seen that it really has a good breathability, and then it has this capacity to absorb moisture up to 30%, but it does not just absorb, but it does it due to this porous structure distributed on the surface of the fiber, and so it can evaporate quite quickly. And this is important when we are active in the mountains. It's really it's really comfortable to wear. It feels a little bit woody and rough at the beginning, but when you put it close to your body, so it absorbs a bit of our humidity, and then it gets soft and it's really comfortable.
Yeah, it's a very different touch than petrol-based materials, because if you have been in the mountains when it's cold, you've experienced wearing a lot of layers, I guess, and then you feel like a bit you can't move anymore, and then you have all this electricity around you because you're full of plastic. And then when you wear hemp, it's you don't have this electricity, and you have this touch and feeling which is different. And this brings us to another topic we want to mention, is that now the hemp that we're using comes from China.
Yes.
And so I'm sure some of you are going to be interested in knowing how can it be sustainable if it comes from China, right? Well, one of the ideas or missions of this project is to bring back hemp to South Tyrol, and it's a very ambitious project. But we have to start somewhere, and as we said before, as we're in this approach where we're learning from the plant and discovering step by step, we need to have the material and we need to test it and we need to work with it in our hands.
Yeah, we have also to say that when we started, we were not able to find European textile fiber, because the processing of the textile fiber is the most difficult part of it. And China has invested already years before in the cultivation, and so we were able, in this learning process, we were able to build a fabric. Maybe some of you have seen one of our first fabrics. What we needed to do is to find a ratio between what we know as mountaineering fabrics or functional sports fabric, and to blend it with a natural fabric to make it more understandable. This meant to be that we had to create something with a bit of stretch. It had to have a certain light, because we all, when we go into mountains, we love to have light materials and comfortable materials. And so we said, but it's also important to start and to show the materials, because if we can't show them and explain them and experience them, then the project won't start. And so when the materials were ready and have been tested, we launched them, and we really would like to involve people to understand this kind of fiber, to make it even more present on the market.
Mm-hmm. And so it's worth it to bring this hemp from China, because like this it can make the interest for the plant grow. And I mean, planting hemp in China is good for the soils in China, so there's already a positive impact there. And then once the interest is growing, you have this network of actors that is being created now and is already on, and this is really, let's say, Salewa's vision of the project in the future is to work with this network that has been created.
Yes, this is true.
And for this, we needed to have the interest of hemp growing. So this is why hemp comes from China. And maybe you can tell about this network a bit. No?
Yeah. So in evolving the project and the idea, we talked to a lot of people, and it's not just our idea. It's something which is growing all over the world. There is a big interest also in Europe. There are projects going on. People are investigating and working on implementing this crop for the food industry, for the building industry, for the composite industry. So this is really like a networking, a knowledge exchange, a collaborating, in order that we evolve towards a new crop, which is already planted for some uses, but which can increase in cultivation and serve different branches of industry and products. And this can then be part of a solution we need for the future, because we can capture CO2, we can regenerate soils, we can create more sustainable products, and we can also create food, because the proteins which are delivered by the nuts of the hemp are also a very interesting part of this crop.
So see, it's very wide and very diverse, and when you go climbing wearing hemp, you are part of this network, because as a consumer you choose what you want to consume and what you want to support. And what I really love in this is that it also changes the way we work, in business, and it also somehow redefines what is business today and what can business bring to society. And so, yeah, it's really this idea of industrial ecology somehow, where you have different stakeholders from very different horizons working together towards a same goal, which would be find solutions for the problems we're facing. So it's not only about climbing and climbers wearing hemp to go climbing. It's really broader and it's really super diverse. And yeah, when you're on the wall wearing hemp, you're also part of this network somehow. And
definitely, yeah, you are part of it. Yeah.
So yeah, this is maybe the heart of the message we wanted to share today, this idea of network and now and cooperation instead of competition, and because we have to go towards these solutions, and we have to go all together because it's super urgent. So now we're gonna start with the questions and answers, if I'm right with the timing. Let's see what we have. Is hemp still sustainable if all the cotton cultivation become hemp? So I think this is a question concerning the quantity, and we were talking about it.
The quantity and probably also the fields, yes.
Mm-hmm.
May I answer?
Sure.
So maybe if we talk about monocultivation, maybe if we think it in a longer time, it's critical again, because monocultivation for biodiversity is never a good option. Hemp is an excellent rotation crop, so in terms of agriculture, we should think in the way that fields can recover after a certain time, but it's in any case a good alternative, because in terms of the need of water and pesticide is so much smaller in comparison to cotton that we should really look forward to substitute a big part of it with alternatives. Cellulose fibers can maybe be also part if we find the correct approach to it for the future.
Yes, and common sense is also a big part of the 360 approach of hemp. So the idea is not to go to every farmer in South Tyrol and to say, okay, from now on you're just going to cultivate hemp and everything else is over. No, we're not in this monoculture approach. So
no, in South Tyrol, it's all the Alpine regions. They have small fields, not big fields. So it's not a solution in terms of a big cultivation, but it's a solution for diversifying certain cultivation. And it's also a solution in terms to bring back certain materials which can also grow here, but not specifically for fiber, but for this potential which the crop offers, going from the high quality ingredients the plant itself has, and then the proteins from the nuts which it delivers, and then we have the biomass which can at the same time transferred into or worked into building materials or fibers at different levels. It doesn't mean that it must be necessary. The final textile fiber can also be felts or composites or other kind of textile approaches.
Okay, next question is, how long does it take from the plant to the final fiber? Okay, this one is for you also. So
there are different steps which need to be done, and this is also a part where the European hemp projects are still working it. We are at a good level from the field harvesting into the herds for the building materials and the rougher textiles. If we speak about the finer textiles for fabrics and for our applications, there we need still to fill some gaps which can be or are this controlled harvesting to bring the stems into the decortication processing machine, and then we need a controlled wetting, because to gather the fibers in a certain quality, they must be released from the wooden part, and then we need a proper combing to feed it into the existing spinning machinery, because we probably in a short time cannot revolutionize the whole spinning applications which have been developed out of the wool and the cotton industry. A solution could be, as I said before, the approach for cellulosic fiber, where with hemp we would have a fast-growing and local material, and here are also thoughts and projects going on, and which would allow us to have a very fine, subtle and smooth fiber to work into our materials.
Nice. So, are Salewa products 100% made out of hemp, or are they blended with other fibers? Well, they are most of the time blended, but we also are working, Christine is working on 100% hemp fibers. Maybe we have one here, right?
Yeah, we have one here, but which we don't, we have developed this. It's part of the very initial in the beginning of the research and the study. We said ideally we built 100% hemp fabric to see the feel, the weight and the resistance we can reach. But we have learned that this kind of fabrics are far away from what we perceive today, or how the functional sports fabric have been evolved over the last years and decades. And so we needed to use the known materials and fibers and to blend it into hemp to make the fabrics smoother, lighter, and even more readable or understandable for our consumers.
So this one I'm wearing, what's in there, Christine?
This is also a blend between hemp, cotton and elastan. Okay. So slightly stretchy. The trousers you're wearing is the ripstop we were talking before, this is a light 200 grams, very, very full mat, so very textile, and at one side, but it has recycled polyester. It's a blend with recycled polyester and a light content of elastan, in order that it moves with you when you climb, especially, but it has this feel, and with this, especially with this material, we had this experience that people used in the field testing. They used it during sports, but they had not the need to take it off after the sport. So it has really, it confirms this comfort when you wear it.
It's funny you say this, because I remember going on a run with the hemp pants, and then I finished and I didn't feel the need to change.
Don't think about it. This is some of the feedbacks we had also. This is interesting. Nevertheless, it would be nice to build also 100% hemp fabric, because then you can in a certain way have this pure product which you recycle into a pure product again.
So is this a plan? Is it going to happen in the next collections, or in a few years, or? Maybe in a few years. At the moment it's not planned, because we still feel that this kind of materiality is too far away from the let's say the mountaineering sport DNA, or the way of understanding materials. Okay. Next question. Do you think that sourcing within Europe should be possible in the future? Anything is possible, especially with Christine.
No, it's not now. To make this possible, there is needed a lot of collaboration and cooperation, we said before, but there is a strong intent. Maybe all of you know how the European community is working on the climate change and on the action to take to make the future sustainable. And hemp actually is a very important topic, or it's part of the solution to make new products and more local products. So we are working also in a platform where we are thinking and cooperating to build up a working model for the Alpine regions, which can then be implemented in the South Tyrolean or the northern Italy region, or it can be in Switzerland or in Germany or in Austria, to find a solution where the machinery is not so big as you can, or you need to use it where you have bigger fields, like in the Po-Ebene or the flatlands of northern Italy or north of Germany, but you have smaller groups of coordination, and you can work locally and reduce transportation. This means for a part of the processing, maybe the other part, like the spinning and the weaving, you need to bring them back to the closest textile industry, which we might have in Italy or in other parts of Europe.
Yeah, this reminds me again of the 360 degrees approach, because it's not a solution only for one aspect, but using hemp brings solutions for many different aspects. This
is crucial. It must be really coordinated, that you work on all levels and you integrate this, because then you really can benefit of this crop which delivers solutions at different levels. If we would think to grow it only for fibers, we probably won't succeed.
Mm-hmm. Next question is, when I talk about it, many people tell me that hemp lasts less. What can I answer? I mean, we used to make ropes out of hemp, so it's quite resistant. And
super resistant.
Yes. Yeah. What would you answer?
Yes, this is in part it's true. It depends on which product we are going to build out and which kind of yarn we are using to build the fabric. It is true, as I said before, if we work to the shorter fibers, so we cut the fibers and we work them into a blend, then we lose part of the strength, of the natural strength of the fiber, but we lose a part also in the process, which we call it cottonized, and the preparing of the fiber, the degumming, where basically part of these pectins are solved, and this takes away part of the strength of the natural of the fiber when it's in the stem and when you have it long, and how people did the ropes at the time. But it's still a very suitable fiber. It's not a cordura fiber. You can't compare it to a filament, to a synthetic filament which has a natural strength. But what we have also experienced in this field testing and the lab testing is that we had maybe and not a classical long-lasting and good abrasion test, but when we have seen trousers worn over 100 times and washed X times and having I don't know how many climbing tours done, it was still good, and we had a super good ratio in terms of weight and resistancy. So at one hand, it might be true that it's not that strong as a known polyamide filament, but in terms of comfort and resistance, it's a fabric I can recommend.
So to answer quickly, could we say that it's just a new fabric that acts and evolves in a different way, and that, for example, hemp, the more you wear it, the softer it gets, and so this is something you have to experience and you have to try, and it's not gonna leave as the other petrol-based materials you're used to. So
yeah, this is true. At the other hand, all of us know that the synthetics have if you build the fabrics in a proper way, they can be really long-lasting. You can build trousers which last 30 years, and you can use it if they are built in a way that they have a really good filling resistance. So it's not that we say today that we don't do synthetics anymore. We just offer with hemp a renewable resource and a very comfortable fiber which has no impact in the sense of plastic waste, etc.
Yeah.
But we don't want to substitute totally the super resistant Durastretch trousers, which if they are used in a very long time and they are long lasting, they are also sustainable. I had a talk with a colleague of us the other day, and she told me that her father has still Salewa trousers from 25 years ago, and it's still working. It has not. How do you say? It's not destroyed, and this is also meaningful in terms of a sustainability. So it's not a question of only hemp or only synthetics. I think we should use hemp because it's really a promising fiber. But we should use it where it makes sense to use it. And there is also different kind of consumers. There is people who love this fiber, and maybe other people which maybe prefer the classical approach of the functional materials.
Great. Okay, I think we're running out of time, so we won't...
There's another question.
Oh, there's another question, okay. So when will Salewa be able to buy hemp from farmers in South Tyrol? What do you think? What do you think when?
Shall we stop or shall we answer?
You can answer.
Okay. This is a good question. We are looking forward to it. We are now collaborating with a project where a bakery is planning to seed hemp, more hemp and different kind of hemp seeds, and they will give us the fiber or the biomass to test the fiber which can be created. With this experience, then we can evaluate further. In the project I mentioned before, maybe in 2, 3, 4 years, we will be able to harvest in the correct way and to process the fiber and to work then into a fabric. I can't say in which quality at the moment and which kind of materials we will be able to create, but as we are already experimenting with hemp realized and grown in Europe, we have a certain experience. This is also blended yarns, not a pure product, but I see chances to realize it. Maybe not the whole collection, but I hope we will be able to show at least some products made out of materials which are grown here.
Okay, thank you, Christine. And last question, Eileen, where can I find a sum up of all this information you gave us? So, if you want, I made a mind map that organizes a bit all these thoughts I share, and I could share it on my personal channels I don't know who you are who asked this question, but I can do a post about it and you can have it there. About the more technical information, I think there's an article on the Salewa website that an interview of you. Yeah, you can dig in the Salewa website and find out more. And I will do a post about this.
Right. Okay.
Well, thank you everyone who joined us tonight. Thank you so much, Christine, for what you're doing. It's so great.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to us and for your interest.
Yeah, I hope you like this and you learned interesting thing, and see you in the mountains.
Ciao. Buona serata.